Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Nathaniel Kempson Productions here today, and welcome to the first layout update. So, hopefully you guys saw the live stream that I did a couple of days ago, where I was sort of rebuilding Lorbarrow, the new layout. I put the polystyrene down. I think I put the track down. I'm not quite sure what I actually did in that live stream, but I did some bits. So this little video is kind of vlog style-ish, as you can see, handheld camera, but hopefully fairly decent audio with the lapel mic. So, if you haven't already guessed, Lorbarrow is operational. You can see it over there, even with a nice fancy fascia control panel looking thing with the name and everything, and little control panel thing, including printed track plan thingamajigs. AnyRail software, printed them off and stuck them on the light. You can see I've got one there showing the entire track plan, and then I've got two slightly smaller ones here that have the point switches and isolating sections and such like, and then I've got the actual analog controller built in there and the DCC controller there. This is a hybrid layout, so this switch here changes from DCC to DC control and then center off, so I can fiddle around with things without rolling stock rolling around. So I will give you a little tour. I'm just going to attach a light to the camera so you can actually, you know, see stuff. It might wash some of the colours out a bit, but we'll have a go. So, exit of the fiddle yard is there. You can see I've got the S15 and the taffy tank over the back there. You come round. I've got a paper template for the moment of the platform. You can see there, and then kind of like a funny, weird, triangle square shaped thing over there. You've got a bay platform, which at the moment has got a rather nice auto coach in it from Bachmann. Wildly overpriced, I will admit, but there we go. You've got the church on the corner as well. And I've started making a little, get rid of that screwdriver and that, a little wall there, you can see. That's just brick card from Metcalf, glued to the edge of the polystyrene. And then Metcalf signal box. The position of this might change. I don't know yet. Three-way point, which brings you into the very small goods siding. You can see I've marked on the baseboard there roughly where the loading platform will go. And then behind that you have rough markings out for where the loco shed is going to be. Again, roughly, it might not go there, I don't know yet. And then inspection pit underneath the pannier tank here. If I just lift her off, you can see inspection pit. Put her back on. There we go. And again, the position of the coal stage and the little water tower thing are probably going to move. I don't know if I'm going to have them on this side or not. I might move the coal stage over to this side, potentially, something like that. I don't know just yet. In fact, I do kind of like that being on this side. I kind of like that being there like that. Ah, interesting. I might keep it like that. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to work out where things go. The shed is basically a given. That's got to go there. There's no other room for it. And again, the loading platform has to be there as well. But everything else, shed-wise, yard-wise, can change. The start of a hill over the back there, you can see I've used packing peanuts. So if you're on any of the Facebook groups, this was a success. It's nice and well, solid. It's solid enough to be slapping around plaster or paper mache or whatever I end up using. Please ignore the great big box of chinchilla sand. This is going to be going down in the depot eventually to make it look like cinder ballast that you see. In fact, cinder ballast looking something like that there on Summersby Orchards. Ooh, yeah. Update coming on that layout, probably. So while we're over here, you can see there's some weird looking copper pipe. Well, actually it's not. It's copper end caps. I don't know what size, but it's big enough for my finger. So whatever size that is, I don't know. The idea is that it's an outlet pipe. I'm going to sculpt the mould over it so you only see the last, I don't know, ½ inch of it or something. And this is going to be a little river. You can see it runs underneath the track there. I don't know what I'm going to be using for the river just yet. For the moment, I've sealed it with PVA glue, so you can probably see it a bit shiny in places, maybe. I don't know. That's what that's going to be. The deck is just a piece of cardboard. I might end up replacing that with a piece of very, very thin plywood or potentially balsa, but for the moment the card is doing a fairly good job of just kind of, well, it's not really supporting the track. The track is able to support itself, but you know, it's acting as a deck to hold the ballast. Basically, that's all it's doing. And then back into the fiddle yard. So the track that I've used, you might be able to see, I don't know, there's a track joint there, and then there's another one there. I've used set track. Majority of it, these ones are 4th radius, as are those in there, those two, and that one. This one is not. This is ST238. This is the one you use for Y turnouts, I think, this one. But it got the alignment just about right for the yard, you can see there. That's why I've used that. All the straight pieces are flex track, apart from this one. This is the only set track. Woo, camera, there we go. This is the only set track straight piece, is this bit in the middle here. Just because I wanted to make sure that the distance between these 2 points would be enough width to get a platform in, basically. And it is, apart from this bit here, which is, you can see why I've dotty lined it, because I'm not sure if this bit is going to be a platform or not. But the majority, bar that bit of the straight track, is all flex track. So this bit is flex track, that bit there is flex track. The straight track in the fiddle yard here, that's also flex track. So the bit in the middle, basically, is flex track. The curves are set track, necessary to get the track in the space available without it overhanging. You can see it is right on the edge of the board there, and not a lot of room over there, but it all fits, so I'm not going to complain. As you can see, I've got space for storing locos and rolling stock and stuff that isn't in the loops. So I can have, for example, the S15 with its rake of southern stock. That stays there. That stays in row 1. That doesn't go anywhere. But row 2 and row 3 are able to kind of change rolling stock with the various wagons and coaches and stuff I've got over here, including the Derby Lightweight DMU there as well. So I've got quite a range of stock that I can use on the layout. So the operational flexibility really is quite good, to be completely fair. It's taking shape. That's basically it for the surface. As you can see over here, I've done a little bit of sculpting with some sculptor mold. It's still not quite dry yet. It'll probably take another couple of weeks because it's not particularly warm in here at the moment, so it'll take a while to set. But you can see the elevation. If I get the camera at the level of the board, you can see there's the elevation that I wanted. Because it's on the 1/2-inch polystyrene sheet. I don't know the exact measurements of it. I know it's about 1 inch thick by 2 foot by whatever that is. It's about 11 inches or something. I can't remember. I'll put the link in the description from the eBay store. It's available on Amazon as well, but the postage is a bit shit from Amazon. So I got this lot from an eBay store. I can't remember. It was enough to do all of the baseboards on the scenic section and the fiddle yard as well, and there was enough just to do a very simple, basic back scene as well. You can see I've cut a little tunnel in this bit, and for the moment, because I don't have any more foam sheet big enough, this bit just kind of ends there for the minute. But that will change. So that's on top of the layout, and now we'll attempt to move down to the dark side of the layout. We'll just point the camera at Summersby Orchards for the moment, because the wiring under here is neat by my standards, but not as neat as it could be. So brace yourselves. Yeah, it doesn't look very good at all. I think the neatest bit I've got is probably this bit here. That's the neatest bit that there is. It doesn't get any neater than that. So I will talk you through it. So this here is the power supply for the analog controllers there. So it runs from the mains there into the power supply there. As you can see, I've used crimps on it, so I can, if I ever need this power supply for something else, I can just disconnect it. I'll just pull it off, and I've got a power supply usable. I don't have to thought about with soldering or anything like that on there. It's just pop it off, and then I can, take it out. If this one breaks, I can stick another one in without having to solder around with soldering irons and shit. It's just more convenient for me. So that feeds the analog train controller there. I can't remember the model exactly. I think it's a slightly out-of-date version of the Gauge Master UDC something or other. It's the twin track controller with simulation. So if I attempt to do this basically blindly, looks like that. And that feeds one controller, one side. So track 1 feeds the main line, and then track 2 feeds the yard that I showed you earlier on. So point control is done using a Gauge Master capacitor discharge unit. In fact, I've had this one for a while. I think this one has been on about 2 or 3 previous layouts, so it's doing well. That is powered by one of these old style Hornby train controllers, arguably the best Hornby train controllers, R965 I think that says. So you can see the white the white doorbell wires coming off. That's a little bit loose. Coming off, goes straight into the capacitor discharge unit, and then out of there we have all of the point motor power coming out in various places, all gathered up here. So this terminal block here is for the fiddle yard point control. So you've got going along over there for the points by the door, including, you can see that green wire there, the all of the point motor power, and then from the same connector it all splits off and goes over this side near the desk. You can see that's the back panel of aero in there. You've got one point there, and then the other one there, and then again you've got the connector for the point motor power. And then it's all wired into the switches on the panel. It's all soldered as best I could do. I don't have a particularly good soldering iron. It's a Parkside iron. Have I got it here? Oh, I do. There you go. So it was that one. No, that one I used originally, but the thread on the end is fucked. So I swapped to that one. And if I show you the state of the tip on the end, what was that? That was a hammer. I don't know if the camera's going to focus very well on it. Probably not, but it's kind of junk. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see it's kind of messy and very poor quality. So I found an eBay store that makes soldering iron tips for both for this one and for this one. So hopefully I'll be able to get some new soldering tips for it, and that way my soldering will look a little bit better than it does up here. So while I'm over here, you've got the 2 points for the three-way point there, and then you've got the right-hand point there. That is the isolating switch for the yard, and then the 2 point switches that operates the 4 points for the fiddle yard stroke storage loops. So I've got them wired in together. You can see that's what this connector is here. These green wires coming off here go to the switches over there. If I zoom in a bit, be able to see, there they are over there. So they're all wired together. So when we look at this over here, you can see the bunch of wires nearest the joist there. There we go. So that point motor operates off of one switch, and it also operates that point motor at the same time. So I can set the loop with a flick of one switch. Sorry. So it changes the points at both ends of the loop. So I don't run into any issues with route setting. So you've already seen it, and I've already talked about it briefly. This kind of octopus looking thing here, this is the selector switch. So this is how I can change the control from the analog controller to the DCC controller. So the middle connectors, they go to the track. So if we attempt to follow these along, so these ones here runs along, down, and then up. You can just see somewhere through there. Yeah, there we go. So these ones that I'm wiggling here, that goes to track power. And then you've got the DCC controller wired in at the top, these white wires here. And then these bottom two here is the DC controller. So flick the switch up and you're running on DC control. Flip it down and you're running on DCC control. So there's the switch. Down is DCC and up is DC, as I've said. So that enables me, stand up, to run analog on the main line or digital on the main line. I am working on a wiring upgrade that will enable me to run DCC on the main line and the sidings. You can see the soldering for the wires there. Because at the moment I can only use DC control in the yard, which means I can't use my two Class 08s you can see around here, because they're both DCC fitted. The green one is actually sound fitted, so these can't go in the yard because there's no DCC control in the sidings there, it's quite annoying. And I'm supposed to be upgrading the entire loco fleet eventually to DCC control. So anything that has a decoder socket will be chipped. So that will be chipped, that will be chipped, that will be chipped, that will be chipped, that will be chipped. The S15 will be chipped, the taffy tank, that will be chipped. The Derby Lightweight is already chipped. And of course the two Class 08s are already chipped as well. Anything that has a decoder socket will have a decoder fitted. And then everything else, if there's room, will be wired for DCC, and if there's no room, we'll just run on analog. So I'm trying to work out a way of wiring that up. So that's the update for the layout. It runs, so what I'll do is I'll set up the camera, and then I'll get a couple of trains running round. I won't do too much. I'll probably get one train running round on the main line, and then I'll move some locos around in the shed so you can see that. So I'll set that up right now. Okay, and you are mounted, so let's just tighten these up and get a good angle on the layout. Gosh, this looks weird. It's all back to front and skew with, I think somewhere there, potentially, will probably be alright. So I will turn on the, where is it? DC control. You can probably see the, can you see the light just here? Maybe, I don't know. And then under here, careful not to rip any wiring out, there we go. The DCC controller and the point motor power. So, okay. So, set the road for the S15. Select DC power. And there we go, there's the S15 going. So, I'll leave that running around. I'll just keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't derail. Another good thing about the selector switch is if I hear a derailment, I can just flick it straight off without having to panic about reaching for the controller itself. So, gonna do some movements in the yard. So let's move the pannier tank. Hopefully you're able to see that. So I'll put that there and then turn the isolating section on and move the prairie. And then I'll leave that in the station like that. So you can see that I can do a few movements in the yards. I need to add an isolating section over in the bay platform area. I might do two, one right at the buffer stop and then one just after the track joint there, so I can isolate that there and then bring the pannier back out, which I can't do for the moment because I don't have any spare wiring or anything like that. So what I'll do now, I will put the prairie and the pannier back so you can see that operation again. So There we go, in the shed. Power off. Change the point. Bring the pannier tank back out, the 6400. Point change. And then that can go back in on shed as well. Or in the depot anyway. So you saw me there take the isolating switch off. That was just so I don't accidentally knock the power for the S15. So that is basically it. Let me just bring the camera back. Ooh, come on. Yep. Hello. So that's basically it for Lorbarrow, the update. It's a fully functioning layout. I don't have many derailments. There's a few locos that do derail, and that's going to need attention. But other than that, it's a fully functioning layout. So, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Any suggestions or anything else you want to say, questions or whatever, again, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. So, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye!